Hello everyone, welcome to Loving Life Conversation Series, People Who Change the World. Today we have Claire Lee at the BCG Mountain View office. Welcome, Claire.
Thank you so much, Faye. So happy to be here, everyone.
So Claire is a management consultant with BCG by day, but you have a night job, which is an Hollywood investigator, and you have 10 million views on YouTube. How do you get started as a content creator?
Well, oh my God, this is one question that will always get me excited. It started about 3 to 4 years ago. Growing up, I was very obsessed with funny people. I don't think I'm funny, but I really, really wanted to be funnier. So I was Googling one day, how to be funny. But I realized the Google research that I got were something like listen carefully, appreciate irony, and things like that. I mean, they're true, but not very helpful. I mean, I still don't know how to appreciate irony, right? So I decided to do my own research. So I started watching tons of talk shows. I started with Sofia Vergara. She was amazingly hilarious. And I started watching all of the talk shows that I can find on YouTube. And then once you've watched that many, you will start to see some patterns. And I did the same for Jennifer Lawrence. I did the same for Julia Roberts, so on and so forth. So by the time I'm done, I'm like, okay, I think I found something. And I started to experiment with some of the tricks myself in life for work. I think I got a little bit funnier. I still don't think I'm like hilarious, but I definitely think I got a little bit more funnier. I was a little bit wittier. I mean, I wasn't...
What was the evidence? Like people laugh when you tell the jokes, or what was the response that made you think you got funnier?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So because I knew the specific thing that I was testing. So for example, we can get into that later. But one tactic is to give the opposite answer to a yes/no question. And when I'm like, okay, I'm meeting Faye today, and if Faye is asking me a question, I am going to use the opposite answer to answer Faye's question. So I knew that I was testing that tactic to see whether it's effective for me or not. So when I do that, I will see your response, and then maybe you will laugh, and then that tactic would have worked for me. I mean, but sometimes, funny is a personal thing. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I mean, on a general basis, I definitely get more laughs with all those tactics.
So it's very specific. It's like doing an experiment, a science experiment. You have your control and you have your test, and every time you have a specific goal that you had in mind and see if you can accomplish that goal.
Yeah, close. I definitely want to see whether a tactic is useful or not, as opposed to just say, listen carefully, right? I don't really know whether that's working for me or not, right? Because I don't know what exactly I'm testing. But with this kind of tactic, I know exactly what I'm testing for, and I can see people's response, and then that can help me gauge whether this tactic works for me or not. So, yeah.
Yes, I like that, because listening carefully, what are you supposed to do? Listen carefully. Whereas when you write an article, because I remember Googling how to be funny, and your article was top of their search results. Your article are very result-oriented. People, after reading your article or viewing your video, they know exactly what to do in certain situations. So how to be funny?
Wow, where do I start? So there are a couple of I would say handy and easy to use tactics for everyday people like us, because I think there are people like David Letterman, maybe Ellen DeGeneres. Those are people who have been in this business for a very, very long time. And maybe they were born funny, maybe they were not, I don't know. But they've been in this business for so long, and they train themselves every day. So they are definitely very funny. And then there's another group of people who are just born to be funny, right? I'm sure you have friends like that. I don't know what got into them, why they were born that way, but they can just make people laugh like that, and they were born with it. I think I belong to the third group. I was not born funny, and I didn't want to be the next David Letterman either. I just want to be a little bit funnier, maybe make you laugh 2 or 3 times in the next 1 hour conversation. If I can do that, I'm very happy as well. So I just want to have a little bit, I have a little bit more fun with my friends when we're talking. That's all I'm aiming for. So if that is the kind of goal that you are trying to get, then I can give you a few tactics to do that.
Yes.
So first, one way, like we talked about, is just to give the opposite answer to yes and no question. And I got this idea from Jennifer Lawrence. She uses tactic, oh my God, really so many times. I can give you one example. So when she was 20 years old, and she had this conversation with Ellen. And then Ellen was asking, for example, like just pretend to be Jennifer Lawrence. So Ellen asked Jennifer, and this happened when she was 20 years old, when she just shot to fame with Hunger Games. And she was very young. So the question was, okay, so you're winning the Oscars, getting all the buzz. Are you used to it? Then you can sense that there is a strong expectation coming from Ellen. When she asked that question, I bet 99 out of 100 celebrity would say, no, I'm not used to it. And it's crazy,
I'm just getting started.
Yeah, I can't believe I'm winning those Oscars, right? That would be like the usual response. But then Jennifer gave totally the opposite answer. She said, totally, I'm used to it. And then that's why everybody was surprised. And then they laughed. And Jennifer, of course, and I said, no, I'm just kidding, right? But what she did was she knew that there was a strong expectation for the answer. So she went the opposite way. And then she surprised the audience, made them laugh. Now she can go back and tell the real story. So being funny is really all about creating surprises here and there. But the real trick is, how can you be surprising, right? That's where my research comes in, because I want to get people exactly the tactics they know to be surprising.
So funny is actually a phenomenon after you see something that is surprising, see something you didn't expect.
Yeah, precisely. And I can give you another example, is to play with numbers, basically. And this is something I still use, every day in my life. Because people ask me, how long have you been with the firm? I'm sure you've been asked that as well,
yes,
right?
All the time.
All the time.
Yes.
They ask you all the time. And there are people who've been with the firm for 5 years, 10 years, maybe even longer than that. So when people ask me how long you've been with the firm, usually I say, I have been with the firm for a very, very long time, 2 months. And then they will laugh.
Okay, now you got your first laugh. Okay, half of the goal accomplished.
Yes. Great. Okay, we can call it a day.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody. So then you can see this is a tactic where you are playing with numbers. So I set up expectation going one way by saying, I've been here for a very, very long time. And I pause. And obviously, I see your brain working hard.
Okay, 10 years, 20 years.
Yeah, precisely. Great, that's what I wanted. And I say 2 months. And then that's when I surprised you, and then you will laugh. So that's another tactic.
I love that. I love that.
Thank you. And it's things like this that I think after analyzing hundreds of talk shows, you will start to see patterns like that. So Sofia Vergara, for example, who's starting Modern Family, and then she used opposite strategy quite a bit, sometimes with numbers, sometimes with adjectives. So for example, this is when she was winning People's Choice Award. She was holding the trophy, she was wearing shiny spaghetti dress, just stunning. And then when she looked at that photo, she was saying, oh, what a subtle picture. But it's not subtle, right? It's the opposite of subtle. So that's another way you could be playful. And then I call this opposite strategy but you're using adjective. So you are using the opposite adjective to describe whatever you're looking at or whatever you're talking about.
So it's really about setting the expectation one way, and then suddenly you take a quick turn. Actually, this is the opposite of what I'm talking about. So you apply this humor, how to be funny, in your day-to-day life, from recruiting to job interviews to public speaking. How do you apply those skills exactly into recruiting, for example? You got multiple offers, interview from BCG, Microsoft, and there's another one, I believe.
A few tech companies.
Yeah, a few tech companies. Google, right, for example.
This is, wow, okay. I would say It's probably not the same or exact tactic I was applying for. I may be applying some of them, but I think what really helped me with recruiting was that because I've seen all those talk shows and I've seen how celebrities are being funny, witty, relaxing when they're having talks like this. So when I have all those chats and interviews with the firm, I tend to be a little bit more relaxed. I tend to be a little bit more personal. And I think it's a language and the body language that sort of show that you are enjoying the process. You know, you and I, if you're an interviewer, we're just having a chat like friends. So I think that makes a huge difference, especially for consulting. And I'm sure you know this, is that when you are having a final interview with the partner, what you want to do is to make this whole interview session feel like you are on the same team, as if you were solving the same case, right? So I think it's all about how you approach some of the situations. For example, when you made a mistake, you would say, a lot of people, this is what I see, a lot of people when they're interviewing and they made a mistake, which happens all the time, they'll be like, oh, sorry. And then they start to, feel nervous and they scratch their head. And they will be like, okay, they're just so nervous because, interviews are very, very nerve-wracking.
Yes,
yeah, it's nerve-wracking. So it's natural that people do this. But I think after analyzing all this and also just heard some of the tricks, which is you want to relax. And I think talk show analysis helps me to relax a little bit. So if I were to do this interview with, for example, BCG, and then you were the partner interviewing me, and then you say, oh, you did this round, I'll probably like, okay, I'm amazed by how down I was, but thank you for pointing it out. Let me try it again. So you just say something that's very casual, and you'd be like, okay, let me try it again. So I think it's more of a mindset change that's manifested as more of a casual conversation that helped me.
So it's really about the attitude or the mindset change that help you not only perform better in an interview, but actually prove to the BCG partners that you are someone who are not afraid of making mistakes. Even if you make a mistake in front of the client, you can get out of the situation very gracefully, with humor, and with a good mindset, and then try again.
I don't know if I did that, but thank you. But yeah, that was my goal. So yeah, I think it's also helpful to sort of understand what those partners are really looking for, right? By the end of the day, they want somebody who is confident, of course, and then they also want to find somebody that's interesting. Because interestingly, I think this was probably more true for investment banking than consulting, that people work till 3 a.m.
Yes.
Right. But what's worse than working till 3 a.m. is that working till 3 a.m. with boring people. And then we work with very small team settings all the time. So if you have just one person that's like not fun, and every time you want to talk to them, you don't know what to talk about, and then that can be just even worse than having a lot of work to do. So I think at the end of the day, you want to sort of show your personality, even at a nerve-wracking setting like interview. So I think it's also helping you to sort of understand why or what the partners are looking for at the end of the day. That also helps. I think another thing I sort of helped my interview is that I talk about my passion project all the time. I remember when I was interviewing, this is with the tech company, and I was doing my self-introduction. And of course, we have to go through the yada, 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 my professional experience and what I was learning, stuff like that. But I think I closed it with, by the way, I also have a passion project, and it's about analyzing how to be funny. I know E.B. White famously said that analyzing humor is like dissecting a frog. Nobody enjoys it, and the frog dies of it. I did it anyway, and I'm glad. Some people, I'm glad that nobody died in the process, and some people enjoyed it. So that's how I sort of closed my self-introduction, including my passion project. And maybe nobody closed their self-introduction at an interview that way, using a quote and add a few, personal stories like that. So maybe that helped me stand out. So I made an impression, and that helped me get one of the offers as well.
I love this, and I want to tell you why I love this, because number one, this is something that is the interviewer was not expecting. So you are applying the technique you were describing earlier. And number two is a passion project, which is people always want to learn about, because I feel the best state when you or the interviewer walk out of the interview is as if it's not an interview. It's almost like getting to know who Claire really is. And then thirdly is the mindset, the state, and it's a fun, right? Because apparently you're passionate about it and you can talk to people more about it. I remember when I got off at a private equity firm, I ended with my biggest passion at the time was competitive ballroom dancing. Oh. So I did it for 10 years. It's a serious passion of me. And I also concluded with a quote from Donnie Burns, who's 17-time world champion, which is a record no one has broken yet.
Okay.
So I remember in a workshop with him, he's like 90-year-old or something. He was like this, walking in, and the moment that the music starts, he immediately gets up, and then he starts to dance, and then ask people, what should you think about when you go to a ballroom dance competition? And people raise their hands. Some people say, oh, is techniques. Some people say is winning. Some people say is communication with your partner, because in ballroom dance, and he said, no, none of those things. You think about how much you love dancing. Okay. That's the only thing you think about. And to me, it was a hallelujah moment, because when you think about passion, your love, then there's this existential energy that normal people don't tap into. So I love that closing. Let me ask you a related question, which is on public speaking. So you also give a lot of speeches to students, to university. How do you prepare the process of a public speech?
Okay, I think we're doing consulting. I'm going to use that as sort of the context. I think it's similar in a way that you want to know what you want to convey. I think initially you want to have that purpose, and then second thing is you want to make it interactive somehow. So using my speech as example. I do speech around Hollywood production, your self-introduction. So first of all, I need a catchy title. I mean, if I'm going to talk to you about how to stand out in interviews, I might as well have something that's sort of catchy, right? I have to. So I spent a long time thinking about what should I call my speech, and I arrived at that conclusion. So that's one thing. And then second...
What are some examples of the title you had?
The other ones are more like functional, like how to land your next interview, or how to prepare for your next interview, things like that. And of course, I arrived at self-introduction. I mean, that took a bit of time as well. I started with interview, but then interview doesn't really rhyme with Hollywood productions. I was playing with the words a little bit so that they can rhyme. So that's, another step. And then once I've arrived at that, and I think about, okay, what are some of the common pain points and then people are thinking about, what they're worried about when it comes to interviews or doing introductions, and I would start with, you have this mental hurdle and you have this skill set hurdle, because most of the interviewees think that they are not good enough. They don't have, fantastic or catchy background, or they probably feel like they don't know anything. Like, especially if you're consulting, you don't have specific requirement for your background. So you're like, okay, I don't know anything, but I'm competing with thousands, hundreds of thousands of other people. How do I even sell myself? That was the biggest question I had in my mind. So because I had the same question, I can sort of verbalize for others. Those are the common mental hurdles you would have when you're preparing for an interview, especially a consulting interview. I think this is maybe a marketing thing or a psychology thing, I don't know. But one of the things I learned is you want to sort of you want to be vocal about what people are thinking about. You want to bring that thing to surface so that they can immediately say, that is exactly what I'm thinking about. That is exactly my pain. Now you get my attention. So that's one way to get attention. Another way I used to get attention is to use some numbers to sort of get people's attention as well. So I'll give one example. So because I'm doing a lot of those things for consulting or students wanting to be in the consulting industry. So I would flash out numbers like 1 million on a screen. And I would ask them, what do you think this number means? And because those audience, they want to get into consulting offers so well, and then they already done their research. So a lot of them would tell me, oh, this is the number of applications that each MBB firms would get every year. A lot of times they just know. And I'm like, great. And I will go to the next slide. And that next slide would have another number, which is 1%. And I will ask them again, what do you think this number means? And oftentimes they also know. They would say things like, this is the acceptance rate. I'm like, okay, great, you got it. So it doesn't matter whether they know or not, but I get my message across, which is this is very hard. So I have sort of gone through this process, and I know how to be the 1%. So that is another way to sort of tell them this is very hard, so you better be paying attention because I'm going to tell you how to be the 1%. And then so after I prepare that mentally, then I will go to my tactics. So I would also tell them, okay, so I'm going to go through the 7 tactics. And I got them from analyzing Hollywood movies. I got them from analyzing talk shows. So like anything I can use to sort of position me slightly differently. Because there are many people talking about how do you get your next offer. Many people are telling you about how to crack the case. So I have to sort of stand out in this, training niche as well. So I would say, okay, my stuff is from Hollywood. And I bet there isn't any training material about how to get you into MBBs, but it's based on Hollywood. I don't think anything like that exists. So that's another thing I would use to catch their attention. And then after I prepared it enough, then I can go to the 1, 2, 3, all the way to 7 tactics. And also I try to make it very interactive. I would actually use the Hollywood examples to tell people what I mean and how I got this idea from. I would use some of the Disney movies, and I also some of the talk show clips to show the example before I even tell them what this is. So, yeah.
So it's really about helping people to stand out, and you're living it, because even the training of how to stand out is standing out because the angle, the perspective you share is different. It's come from Hollywood, come from talk show, you have inspiration from them, and you really show the audience, 1 million, 1%, what these numbers mean. You connect with the audience because this is something they care about. This is something they can understand and they know how important it is. So you said you have 7 tactics. Would you mind sharing a few with our audience?
Yeah, for sure. I would say number 1, we sort of already touched it, which is you want to rethink about your hobbies and passion projects. And there are many different, ways to do it, but I would say the number 1 is really just to know that your hobbies and your passion project can be so powerful when it comes to landing their interviews and landing their offers, things like that. Because I'm an international student, and I think in some of the Asian countries, no interviewers would actually ask about your passion project or your hobbies that much. They don't necessarily care. However, I think in the US, it's actually, first, they care, and second, it's actually one of the best ways to stand out because that's personal to you. That's how you can make the other person remember you. So it can be very powerful.
That's the only thing is unique to you.
Exactly. So you want to use that. To a lot of international students, that's just a mindset change. And then if you want to take it to the next level is when you can do a little bit of wordplay, I would say. So when people ask me, what is your hobby? And I used to say, eat, pray, laugh.
Right.
You got it.
Yeah.
You got it. Okay, great. Because I remember I was talking to some of the undergraduates.
Yes.
They had no reaction because they never heard of this movie, Eat, Pray, Love. So I was being playful with the movie Eat, Pray, Love. And that's why a lot of times when I say eat, pray, laugh, And interviewers tend to be like, at least
Laugh.
our age, at least our age. So then a lot of times they would catch it. They would sort of like, oh, that's interesting. And then what I want to emphasize is that there's nothing special about my hobbies. I like to eat. I try different restaurants. I do meditation. That's sort of the pray part. And I watch talk shows. I laugh. Really, there's nothing special about any of them, but I just sort of put them together and then wordplay a little bit using some of the iconic movies. And you can do the same if you're interviewee. You can relate your hobbies with some of the iconic movies or like pop stars or pop songs. Whatever people know that I can relate to, they will remember you.
So how do you get those lines? Like eat, pray, laugh. Was it an inspiration coming from where? How do you get that line?
I think you definitely have to experiment a little bit. I think maybe for the first 1 month or 2 months when I was recruiting, I had no idea how to say my hobbies in a fun way. But then you do a little, brainstorming, right? You sort of just write down what I like to do. I like to eat. I like to pray. I like to, this and that. I like to sing, maybe. I like to, talk to people like this. And then you just write down everything. And then I think this is what I believe. Once you are really in search of something, it will manifest and it will show it to you. It's just a matter of time. So once I have the question living in my brain, okay, what should I say about my hobbies to those interviews? That question is constantly there.
Yes.
And you've done the right brainstorming steps. And then it's just a matter of time before some kind of movies or names that will pop to you that you will be like, oh, I can connect. So I would say 1, definitely write down everything. 2, be patient. And then 3, don't give up so quickly. I mean, as long as this question is constantly living in your mind, the answer will come. But I think a lot of people just give up too soon. Like, I don't know how to do this. This is bullshit, and I'm not going to do it.
So you plant a seed in your mind, and you have this belief. Sometimes it's a leap of faith. The answer will come. And then you have more and more proof that the answer will come when you constantly think about it.
That's right.
So you talk about you pray, which is meditation. Can you share more what type of meditation you do? How often? How does that help with your life and your creation?
Yeah, for sure. I think I started meditation when I was in high school. It was a long time ago. I wish it was not that long, but it was pretty long. And then I think I started doing it because I was feeling a little bit, depressed and a little bit too stressed out. And a friend recommended this book to me. I think if I were to translate it, it's probably something like Meet the Future You.
发现未知的自己.
Yes, that's the one. And you know this. It was written by a Taiwanese, and then she was a TV station MC host or something like that. And then she was feeling, she had the perfect life, right? She had the perfect career, perfect look, and a perfect family, but she still didn't feel very happy. And then she went on to this journey and then write this book. So I feel like that book helped me a lot and then got me into the meditation. So I started doing meditation on and off by that time. And I definitely went through a journey. So that book got me started, but I probably did like on and off meditation when I was in college. And then no specific tactic really, just trying to sit still with myself and then focus on breath. It was very hard, still is very hard. But I think what I have changed for me is initially I was trying to not have any thoughts. But then very soon, after reading a few books about meditation, you realize that's not possible. The thoughts are gonna pop in anyways. So what you have to do is to train yourself to be okay with the thoughts. And instead of seeing the thoughts like, why am I having this many thoughts? And then becoming really annoyed by it, instead of feeling that way, you'd be like, oh, I have another thought coming in. Okay. I'm gonna bring my focus back to my breath. So maybe in a 10-minute meditation session, 9 minutes, I have thoughts. But as long as, that's totally fine. As long as I'm okay with those thoughts, I can greet them, and I remain a sort of a joyful state about them. That's all it is. I think meditation is all about just observing and be okay with what's happening. So once I learned that, I felt meditation isn't as scary or too out of touch as a lot of people might have thought. That's what I thought. And then nowadays, I do a program called To Be Magnetic.
To be magnetic.
To Be Magnetic, yes. So I think this was started by somebody from LA. And then I think it's supposed to help you to manifest. It's related to law of attraction. But the difference about this one versus many other is that this is based on neuroscience. Because if you read like neuroscience book, you will know that visualization is not just meditation or law of attraction kind of talk. It's actually scientific. Because, I mean, by the way, I worked in McLaren before, which is the F1 team, and I'm pretty good friends with the coach of a lot of F1 world champions. And then he taught me this as well, and he wrote the book about it as well, that when he was training F1 world champion, before they became a champion, what they need to do is to visualize their success and to visualize like every single detail when they're driving the car before they actually drive it. So visualization is very, very scientific. So back to Be Magnetic. It is based on neuroscience because what I would hear is a lot of audios and they would make you visualize a lot of stuff. So for example, they would make you visualize your future self. What does your future self look like? And also they would help you visualize, maybe unblock some of your concerns that you had when you were a baby. Those things tend to stay with us for a long time. Then they would try to put you into a hypnotic state, and they would try to make you imagine that instead of getting yelled at, for example, when you were little, you will be hugged, like lovingly. So they would make you do a lot of stuff like that.
So changing the reality of the past, almost.
It's something like that, yes. So would it go into your subconscious, and then they would change things and make you visualize things differently, so that when you come out of it, you will feel a bit better. And of course, you have to do it relatively consistently. They would recommend, if you can, every day. Each audio is about 20 to 30 minutes. But if you don't have that kind of luxury, then try to do it like 3 times a week, ideally. So that's one thing I have been doing consistently on weekends. You know, it's not always possible to do it on weekdays for our job, but I try to do it on weekends, and that's been very, very helpful. And I definitely noticed that me being a little bit more confident, actually a lot more confident when I'm doing that program consistently. You feel like, oh, I can conquer the world, I can do this and that. I don't care about you, whatever, I'm going to do it. But when you start feeling good, there was a time when I started feeling good, and I'm like, okay, maybe I don't need this anymore, and then I can just go back to this self-doubt state pretty easily. So that I'm convinced of its power, and I'm also convinced of the importance of consistency.
The power of To Be Magnet as a program, to meditate, to really listen to yourself, and the power of being consistent.
Yep.
So you said you do it on the weekend. Is it like a group thing? Is it on an app? You can do it by yourself or with a community? What is it like?
Yeah, so To Be Magnetic is an online course. They should really be paying me this.
Yes.
So it's online. It's an online course. It's an online community. I'm not using the community enough. Maybe I should. But really, it's an online course. So you pay a membership fee, and you can access those, just audio on demand.
Interesting. Maybe I should check it out. Yes. So if you're listening, then you should really be paying clear to advertising fee of To Be Magneted. Yeah. So basically, you have a big job, very intense job at BCG, and you're going on a DD project, which is going to be very intense. And your passion project is really about researching how to be funny, how to connect with people, and then you have your meditation practice. How do you do it all? How do you manage your day, manage your energy to fit everything in?
Oh, wow. I mean, that's like never-ending search, really. So I think you sort of have to understand first of all, you have to understand what is most important to you, what you're willing to let go, and then make plans around what's important. Okay, let me explain. So I know this job is very important to me. I know it's not very realistic to do something on weekday nights, right? You and I both know that. So that means I just can't, I can't depend on my weekday nights to do my passion project. But then at the same time, I know my passion project is so important. And this is because like I mentioned before, I started this How to Be Funny thing about 3-4 years ago. I got some traction, but then I stopped because things got busy, life got busy. I was applying for MBA, and then I just stopped. And also, I guess I didn't have the confidence then because I didn't know this thing that I'm doing is valuable. People actually want it, or you just like, it's a passion project of mine. So I don't know how important it is. I also don't know how good or how bad I am. So I stopped. But then when I was actually doing my MBA, I got a lot of feedback from my professors, from interviewers, a lot of things, and that made me realize this passion project is something unique, and people kind of like it, and they kind of like the new me after doing all this analysis. I'm like, okay, it sounds like this is a good thing, and also there's an idea that just keep coming back to me. The idea is I want to have a platform to myself. I want to have something that belongs to me, and it's not a day job. So I know it's important because that idea just haunts me. So to summarize a little bit, I know passion project is important. I know my day job is important, but I can't do my passion project on weekday nights. So the only way I can do it is to do my passion project on weekends. So then, but you also don't want to burn out yourself, right? So I would just do Saturday and Sunday mornings. If I really have to, I may spend a little bit more time than that, but usually I would just use those 2 mornings to work on my passion project. So you don't have a lot of time. Again, you have to prioritize, like what do you do with your passion project for those 2 mornings? You have to plan quite a bit, but then you can start to see, it's feasible. You can do a very demanding job. You can still have a passion project on the side. And then because I'm only doing the mornings, I don't feel burned out. Actually gives me energy because I'm doing something that's deep inside of me that I know is maybe what I'm meant to do, right? So it actually gives me energy. And I still have Saturday and Sunday afternoons and evenings to hang out with people, watch Netflix, do whatever.
Optional.
Right? Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So that's how sort of everything can come together. Oh, so one more thing about meditation. Meditation really doesn't take that much of your time. So you spend like 10, 20 minutes on a few days. For me, is I would listen to be magnetic audios on weekends, mornings, first thing when I get up.
To start your day.
Exactly.
Yes.
And if I can, sometimes I do that on Friday morning as well. But the very minimum is I would do those weekends. Yeah.
So at least a weekend, sometime on Friday. So 2 to 3 days a week.
Yeah.
When you were describing how you're getting it started, basically you started, you get some traction, and then you stopped with this idea keep hunting you, and then you get feedback from your MBA, your students, your classmates, your teachers, and then you grow this thing. I believe this is the exact secret for entrepreneurship, which is it's clearly something you're passionate about. Like even for me to do this interview, I've been thinking about it for 5-6 years. This idea keep haunting me. And you start very small, right? You start doing, it doesn't have to be, you quit your full-time job and then you switch to the thing, and then you build, and then you get more resources, people, even how we meet, how we are able to have this interview is because we're both pursuing our passion, we're able to connect and make this thing bigger, which is to create your own path, to follow your passion.
I just want to make a quick comment on that because what you said is so important, because I remember whether it was James Clear or another creator that said this, that really gave me the aha moment. So what he said was the best way to network is not to go to conferences or go to cocktails and then mingle with people. The best way to network is have a passion project and then tell the world about it. Because then whoever you need, what resources you need, they will come to you, and those connections you make will be so much more deep. So much more deep than, somebody you meet and chat, at a cocktail reception, and you just have a drink and forget about it. So those are those can be good, and keep doing it. I'm still doing it, but I feel like having a passion project and telling people about it is probably one of the best ways to build deep connections and network effectively, if that's what you're aiming for.
Yes, exactly. Because it's about sharing who you are, who is Claire, right? And who is Fable. I feel the more we can share ourselves to express our own uniqueness, the world will become better. And this is really a belief and a mission that I fundamentally want the world to happen, is to accept our differences, our uniqueness, and to celebrate it. Mm-hmm. So I always want to end with something more personal. And, you are a woman and you have a big career, and this is, your passion project. In 10 years, if we were to sit here and chat again,
this is that question.
What would the Claire be doing in 10 years? What would the passion manifest it into? What would the ideal, however you want to define success, what would that look like in 10 years?
I think, I don't know if this is what I'm going to do for 10 years later, but I know what I would love, at least, in 5 years or so. Would definitely love to be successful with my day job. The reason I think it's important because I want to have a skill. I feel like in my past job I've been doing a lot of business development, and I love that job. But I at the same time I feel like because I don't have a core competency or core expertise, the conversation with clients or basically the conversation with clients were not deep enough. I feel like a lot of times I was a messenger. So I wanted to develop a core skill so that I can offer real value to people. So that's why I'm a consultant. I'm trying to find a few where I can offer a core skill. And this could be due diligence, because if you can tell whether you should invest in a company in 2 weeks, whether that company is promising or not, I think that's a pretty cool skill. And I think that's a useful skill. So that's why I think my day job is still very important for me to be somebody who is known for a skill. And at the same time, I think my passion project is just part of me. People always say, you're very personable. And longest time, I had no idea what that even means. But I think it all makes sense when you're trying to bring and connect everything together. So I'm interested in understanding how to talk to people. I was interested in talk shows, and then maybe that's connected to my personality. It's very core to me. So I'm okay, I just do some kind of passion project on the site. I may not be fully aware of how meaningful it is, but it sounds like some people are watching it, so I think it may be useful. And at the same time, it's just manifesting part of true me. So I think that sounds the right thing to do. So I would just keep doing both things, and then at the end of the day, if I could sort of connect the two and then build a brand for myself, and then offering solutions to sort of the, long-time problems, but maybe from a different perspective, that would be, I guess, what my personal brand would be about. It could be about how do you get a job interview or job offers. It could also be something else. I don't have a clear idea yet, but I know what I wanted is to build a brand for myself and then offering some of the unique solutions to long-term problems.
What I really like about you is you have very aligned in terms of your thoughts, your words, and your action. And what I mean is, when you're describing your journey, there's some parts you're unsure. And you say that. You tell exactly what you're unsure about. And there are some parts you like about how to be funny and the personable. I feel a core skill you have is to connect with people. And is to get connected. And it's not just about being funny. It's not just about solving a business case or doing investment in due diligence. And that's a huge skill. I think I can see so many different ways you can use that to become the successful, however you like to define it, the successful Claire in 10 years.
Oh, thank you so much, Faye. Thank you.
So if we want to end with one last words of wisdom from you to people who might have a passion but are too scared to start, who might want to take a camera and shoot for 1 minute video, but then editing takes so much time, what would you say to them to encourage them?
I would say really try to be consistent, because you probably heard me saying this word many times.
You're consistently saying it.
Yeah, consistently saying it. That's very well put. Because it is important. Because I see way too many people just give up before anything could materialize. I can give you one very concrete example, is making those YouTube videos. There's a saying that don't expect anyone to look at your YouTube videos. Don't expect anyone to look at your first 100 YouTube videos. So, 100 is a pretty big number, and most people would just give up halfway because nobody's watching it, right? It's very easy for you to say, well, I'm doing this. So I thought about that very carefully before I started this YouTube channel. And like the saying mentioned, nobody was watching it for my first 30, 40 videos. Just nobody was giving a rat's ass about it. But I just keep doing it. I'm like, I know first 100 video, nobody's going to watch it. I'm just going to keep doing it. Maybe I will get better. So that was my goal. I just want to get better. I don't care whether people are watching or not. So then I think, and that was probably 5th or 45th video that I made about Taylor Swift. And then you sort of just went viral there. And I had no idea why that happened. But I just got a few million views in it just in a few days. So, be consistent, really. A lot of people just give up way too soon. If you think you want to do something, thought about it carefully, and then people think you should do it because you have a strength in it, and then keep doing it. Because otherwise, what else can you do, right? If we're not doing something that, that's important to us, you're going to probably watch some shows, you're probably going to just have some dinners with people, which is great, but then, there's better things you can do. Just stick with it.
Yes, just stick with it. Be consistent. Thank you so much, Claire. If you like what Claire shared today, please follow her on YouTube. What's your handle on YouTube?
Yeah, it's Claire Siyan Li. So it's C-L-A-I-R-E, Claire. Siyan is my Chinese name, which is S-I-Y-A-N, and Li, L-I.
Claire Siyan Li.
That's right.
Follow her to learn more about how to be funny, how to connect with people in an entertainment, good way, how to get a job interview, how to be different, and how to live a good life.
Yeah, and let's be friends.
Yes. Thank you so much, Claire.
Thank you.
Pleasure having you.